You ever get that feeling you're downtown, music's going, everyone's having a good time, and then suddenly you get this chill. Like, just for a second, you realize that anything could happen.
Yeah,
It's been hitting me more often lately with all the headlines,
right.
But we're not about to just skim the surface, right? You sent over some articles about what happened in Birmingham, and it's clear you want to get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's deep dive into what happened in 5 Points South.
Yeah, so what's really captivating about this particular event is it's sadly become a pattern, like it's a trend. And we're seeing this on a national scale. But before we unpack all that, let's get into the facts. It was Saturday night, September 21st, just after 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Imagine like a lively 5 Points South. One of Birmingham's like nightlife hubs. You've got restaurants going, bars, music, people out and about. That energy,
Yeah.
you can practically feel it just reading these articles.
Right.
We're talking specifically the 2000 block of Magnolia Avenue South, outside of Hush, that hookah and cigar lounge.
Okay, yeah.
Witnesses are saying it was, a typical Saturday night. People were out enjoying themselves until, well, it all changed.
And that's what gets me, that sharp turn. It wasn't just a couple of shots fired. This was a whole different situation. We're talking multiple casualties here.
Oh, absolutely. The official count is devastating. 4 lives lost. 2 men and a woman were pronounced dead at the scene. Another man, he tragically died from his injuries at UAB Hospital. On top of that, you've got 18 others who were injured, some critically, according to the reports you sent. Imagine the terror, the chaos.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking, and it's easy to see the numbers, but you're right. Behind each one, there's a story. Families are changed forever. And one thing I kept reading, some of these victims, they were just waiting in line.
I know.
Out with friends, thinking they were going to have a good night, and then...
And that's what's so unsettling about this randomness.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of the victims were just simply in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
They were caught in this crossfire that wasn't even meant for them. The police are still trying to piece together what exactly happened, but from what witnesses are saying, it was just utter chaos.
Okay, so we've got this picture. Lively night turns tragic. Multiple lives lost, and this sense of random violence. So then, what's the thought? What was the motive? Were they targeting certain people in the crowd? Or was it just a totally random act of aggression?
That's the question,
Right.
And it's what investigators are trying to figure out. It seems like, and this is just based on early info and what witnesses have said, but it maybe wasn't totally random.
Okay.
Like they think there was some kind of conflict, some connection, even if it was small, between whoever did this and at least one person there.
So not a completely random attack, but maybe it was targeted and went wrong and innocent people got caught up in it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, figuring out what that connection was, who these people were, and what set this whole thing off, that's what they're looking at right now. And it gets even more complicated because you mentioned something about the gunfire itself in the articles you sent.
Oh, you mean how some people said it sounded like automatic fire, like it wasn't just a normal gun?
Exactly. And that's a key detail for the investigation.
Yeah.
Because what they're describing, it points to something called a Glock switch. Have you heard of that?
I think so. It's like a thing you can put on a gun to make it shoot more, right?
It's a small device, illegal in most cases, but it can be attached to certain handguns to basically turn them into fully automatic weapons.
So instead of one shot each time you pull the trigger, it's like, what? A mini machine gun.
That's the scary part. With a Glock switch, it's not about accuracy anymore. It's about unleashing tons of bullets in seconds. Even Mayor Woodfin called Glock switches the #1 public safety issue in Birmingham.
Makes sense. If the shooting did involve one of those, how are they even getting them? They're illegal, right?
Exactly. And it's a huge problem that lawmakers and police are dealing with.
Yeah.
Think about it. When you buy a gun legally, there are background checks, waiting periods, records, the whole 9 yards. But these modifications, they slip through the cracks. They're small, easy to hide, and people buy them illegally online or on the black market.
So it's hard to even know they're out there.
Exactly. And as we've seen, not just in Birmingham, but all over, the consequences are absolutely devastating when they end up on the streets.
It's just terrifying to think that something so small can do so much damage. So where do things go from here? How do they even start to figure this all out and catch whoever is responsible?
You've hit the nail on the head. It's a long and difficult process. First things first, they have to collect every piece of evidence they can find.
Right.
We're talking witness statements, which, after something like this, they can be all over the place. And, of course, any security footage from cameras in the area.
Hoping to see something. anything that could be a clue.
Right. Maybe the people involved, a car, anything.
And it's a race against time, isn't it? The longer it takes, the more likely it is that people will be scared to talk.
Oh, absolutely. Witnesses might not want to come forward, worried about what might happen. And those responsible, well, they could use that time to disappear, which makes everything harder. That's why it's so important for the community to work together. This isn't just about solving one crime, it's about making sure people feel safe again after something like this.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the bigger question.
How do we stop this from happening again?
Exactly.
Because even if they solve this case, it doesn't change the fact that this is like the 122nd homicide in Birmingham this year.
It's a symptom of a much bigger issue.
Exactly.
And to really address this, we need to look at it from all sides. On the one hand, we've got to get these illegal guns and modifications like those Glock switches off the streets, like yesterday.
Right.
Tougher laws. Finding ways to close those loopholes that let these things slip through. And really putting resources into stopping the sale of these things.
So being proactive, not just reacting after something happens.
Exactly. But you're right, it's not that simple. We have to think about the root causes too.
Why does it feel like everyone is turning to guns to solve their problems?
Right. What is it about our society, about these communities, that leads to this? Because it's not just about the guns themselves, it's about the environments where they become normal, where people are so desperate that they feel like they have nothing left to lose.
It's a tough thing to think about, but we have to. We've talked about the details of the shooting, what happened, how it happened, but for everyone listening, it can't end here. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, like what can one person do? But just being aware of what's going on, that's the first step.
It is. Knowledge is power.
Exactly. So I'm going to leave you with this. Find out what's happening in your community. Look into groups like Moms Demand Action or the Community Coalition for Public Safety. See what they're doing and how you can be a part of it. Even small things can make a difference. Don't let this just be another tragedy that we forget about. Make it a reason to act, to fight for a safer Birmingham for everyone.